Welcome to Much Ado About Drama. This video is about how to put on a play, and it is specifically for either newer drama teachers or non-drama teachers who just want to put on a play within your classroom or start an after-school program. So it probably won't just be this one video, but I'm hoping this video will give you some knowledge on what you need to know to do, and maybe even help you make the decision if you really want to go ahead and do this. Okay. So, when you're putting on a play, your main steps are going to be identifying your actual goals, okay? And then there's the practical of figuring out the budget, the licensing, the actual title, and then the artistic part. So that's your auditions, your actual rehearsals, getting the show ready, marketing the show, and then putting on actual performances. Okay, so what are your goals? And this is where you need to really identify, is this something you're doing within your classroom? You're trying to make it related to the curriculum you already had. Maybe it's related to your science or history curriculum. Or is it something that's more like a for fun thing, like you wanted to add some enrichment, after school programming? So those are very different goals, and you're going to look for different plays. There's also the practical side of the budget and permissions and all of those things. So the next step is licensing, budget, permission, all your kind of practical getting it in order. So if you're at a school, you're going to want to figure out if you have any kind of budget from admin and permission to go ahead and go forward and pursue a play. And there's all kinds of budgets that can work, so you don't need a huge budget to do a play, but you need that information up front before you start licensing things, because different plays are going to be different costs. If you have a small budget and you're just looking for something that's cross-curricular, that's going to be enriching for your students, you might want to consider something like looking into Bad Wolf Press. So they have a series of musical plays, some plays that are just speaking or straight plays, but mostly musical plays that are written for the whole class. They're aligned with curricular standards in history, science, math, etc. You can go to their website and just look at what they have and see what most aligns with you. And they're really inexpensive. You usually can get the digital script and music and everything where you have the rights to print it and perform it for something around $80. Different plays might be different amounts. And then budget-wise from there, you think about, do you have anything for costumes and sets? Maybe that's something that the parents are providing and you're just sending home information about what they need. Now, on the other end of things, maybe you're putting on more of like a full-on production, either if it's actually a drama class that you've been placed in, even if you're a newer drama teacher, or an after-school program. And you might want to find something that the kids will get excited about that is more of a popular title. So that's where you're going to look at something like Musical Theater International, which is MTI for short. And they have a whole series of junior musicals and kid musicals that are either about 60 minutes for the juniors or 30 minutes for the kid titles. And that's going to be like all your Disneys. It has ones like Shrek Junior and Madagascar Junior. You might want to look there. There's also Concord Theatricals has some popular titles such as Wizard of Oz, and they have youth editions of that, which are similarly like about an hour long. Now, if you are looking for something that's maybe a little bit more in between, maybe you are considering curricular, or you're considering something that's like for your class but not necessarily only related to curriculum, or maybe more of a straight play versus a musical, you might want to look at a website like Pioneer Drama. They have a whole bunch of plays and musicals that are written for larger casts, like to be flexible, like a classroom, that are variety of lengths. Like you can just put in their search feature and do the advanced search where you say between 10 minutes and 120 minutes, and you just toggle like how long you want it to be, how many characters, things like that. They have a lot of popular stories, so like versions of Little Red Riding Hood and a bunch of other fairy tales. figure out which licensing company you want to go with, and then to actually get the license, you need to create an account, apply, make sure you actually have paid for it, and read the license terms. Find out, are you doing a digital script? Are they sending you physical scripts? Do you have to send those scripts back after? And so just like putting all those practical things in line is going to help you a lot. Okay, so you have your goals, you have your budget and show set out, you've paid for the license, you got your scripts, so now you actually need to do auditions and rehearsal. If you're going for more of like the smaller thing that you have half an hour a day to work on this during your class time, you're going with something that's more aligned to curriculum you already have, you probably want to make the audition process pretty simple. I still recommend some kind of auditions because it's going to help give you information about people's confidence level, what they're actually interested in. But you might want to just choose a song that everybody learns. They write down their top characters. Everybody does that same song to give you information, and then you cast it based on that. If you're doing more of an after-school program or an actual drama class that's a little more in-depth, you might want to consider having students choose a song or a part of the play or something and go a little more in depth with that audition process. Whatever you do, make sure it's really clear to the students and the parents beforehand so that they can properly prepare. Then you're going to move on to your rehearsal process. So before you even start rehearsals, you want to really study your script and figure out what you need to learn when. If you're doing a musical, typically you're going to learn the music first because knowing the music is going to help when you're doing any kind of movement or choreography with it. You want to block out the times where you're going to teach each song, when you're going to have a chance to read through and block out or stage the dialogue, learn the dances. There's different ways to go about it in different orders, but you need to know your script and figure out how much time you think each thing's going to take to learn, and then you map out your rehearsal schedule based on those things. And you want to make sure you start with something called a read through. Everyone's cast in their parts and it's the first time you're reading through the whole script together as a full group, as a full cast, and you're listening to the songs together. And then you're going to learn your music, and then you're going to do your choreography / blocking rehearsals. And then once you've solidly got all those things, you want to do some run-throughs. So run-throughs are where you go through a section of it or the whole thing eventually during that rehearsal period, and everyone's getting really the continuity of it. Finally, you're going to have a tech rehearsal where any kind of lights and sound that you have, you're going to actually do on the stage or wherever the performance space is. So even if it's in the classroom, however the setup's going to be, you want it to be run exactly like how the setup's going to be. If you're going to be playing it from a boombox or a Bluetooth speaker or whatever, you want it to be that, like the full run through with whatever tech will be involved. And then finally, the last step is to do a dress rehearsal. Costumes can add a lot of excitement and getting into character, but it can also be distracting. And so when you add that element of costumes, you want to do it last. Ideally, you get to do at least 2 dress rehearsals, because the first time we're with costumes, we discover like, oh, this headpiece is actually not working and falling off. You want to have at least one time you get to go through it with those mistakes and then can fix those mistakes and get another chance to go through it. We also need to briefly talk about marketing materials. So it can be as simple as in your newsletter, you're regularly reminding the parents and inviting them to invite other people. If it's something where it's more of an after-school program or a longer-term project within a drama or performing arts class, you might want to go a little bit more in depth, making announcements to the whole school, having an actual flyer that goes out. Maybe your school is using their social media to post about it. So just decide what level you want it to be marketed, and then you have your actual performance. Break a leg, everybody. You can do this.